The IRA includes a whole bunch of money to build out the supercharging network, or rather just the fast charging network. But either way you slice it, it's a bunch of money and chargers are getting built. I found some random dude. He says his name is John something. He's kind of a know-it-all.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, his channel is Dr. Know-It-All. You can find it on the screen right now. So, I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. So, John, have you heard that you are eligible to bid on those kind of projects?
Yeah.
Whether you're Blink or ChargeGo or EVgo or ChargePoint or
Electrify America.
Electrify,
or
poorly
Tesla.
electrify some parts of America sometimes, or Tesla.
Yeah,
So have you heard about that?
I have.
And you've heard that it's actually happening. People are actually getting it done. So what do you think this is going to mean for Tesla?
Well, it's interesting because the statistics, the last I heard, was that they've gotten $8.5 million out of $77 million that's been distributed, which is about 18%, which actually surprises me because Tesla charges somewhere between 50 and 70% less than everybody else. And I'm a little surprised. I'm like, wait, why aren't they getting 100% of the bids? What are our governments doing?
It's interesting. You look at the per handle charge. Some of these companies are charging as much as $400,000 per handle.
Right.
And they're still getting the bid because we have to give everybody the money.
Yeah.
We don't want to show favoritism. And Tesla has had some locations where the price was as low as $17,000 a handle.
Yep.
But there's a lot of logistics that goes into it, that goes into the back end. You've got to figure, is the power already at the site? Because if it is, $17,000 a handle is doable.
Yep.
Are we paying for the land, or is it there as a courtesy to Target or whoever?
Yes, exactly.
So the question then becomes, is it 18% because they're not getting accepted, or is that all they've bid on?
That could be true. They might not have bid.
Yeah. We haven't seen what they haven't gotten, only what they have.
Right. And one of the factors that you have to remember with this is Tesla has a lot of data. They know where people drive and where people want to charge, and they can pick the good spots. Whereas a lot of these other companies may be like, well, we don't know, we'll just put one here. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, gosh, 2 people a day show up and charge here. It's hard to make a living off of that. So
when Jim Farley did his big cross-country tour, he got in a Ford Lightning and he said, let's just do it, kids. Pack up, let's go. Did the old road trip. And his kids kept saying, I want to stop there. And he's like, well,
he said, in 2024, we'll be able to.
We will be able to soon enough. But we can't because there's because we've got to deal with the second tier locations.
Right.
Now there are more off-ramps and there are more good locations at those off-ramps, but you got to make a deal. You got to strike a partnership and make it happen. And Tesla does. If you've never done a road trip in a Tesla, why don't you tell them how it works when you put in your destination? Let's put in a destination 800 miles away.
Well, let's just go to LA.
LA.
We're in Vancouver right now. We'll go to LA. So we're just going to go straight south. We'll put it in, and I don't know how many miles that is, but it's a long ways. And the car will think for a while, and then it'll go drive 2 hours, stop here for 15 minutes, drive another hour and a half, stop for 20 minutes, drive 2.5 hours, stop for 15 or 20 minutes. It just maps it all out. It's really brain dead. I'm telling you, man.
It's so effortless. And it'll say, by the way, we think you should stop at this location when you're at 17%, 19%. Here's how many stalls are open. Here's how much it costs per kilowatt hour.
Right.
And if you want to go somewhere else, you just pick a different location. You might look at that and say, well, those only have 150 kilowatt chargers. I really want a faster one.
Or I don't like the food options there.
Or I don't like the food options there.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is that it might be, for example, when we were passing through Seattle on the way up, all the chargers in Seattle were at like 50 cents a kilowatt because they were full, busy, and that's the most expensive area. Right. But we managed to make it through to Everett, and I want to say we paid 20 cents.
Right.
So less than, if you could plan, gas stations are all within like 2% of each other.
Yeah.
And with charging, it's not that way.
Right.
So trip planning is so easy. People saying, I don't know where to find chargers, have not driven a Tesla.
Yes, exactly. And Jim Farley said that. CEO of Ford says we have to do better because Tesla clearly knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and so then you've got, so if I'm going to, let's say all the charging companies are broken out. Tesla charging is not Tesla, it's a new division, it's a whole separate company. Which of those companies would you be most comfortable investing in? Blink, EVgo, Electrify America, ChargePoint, or Tesla?
Or Telsa, but not Tesla.
Or,
well,
yeah.
obviously I'm going to go with what I know at this point. It's like the Tesla, whatever the new Tesla brand is, I'm going to go with.
You're going to go with it because their chargers are the most reliable.
Yeah.
But how do they manufacture them?
Well, they mass scale.
They mass produce
it's
them.
Incredible. And the installation now, I think it's 4 at a time on the back of a semi-truck.
Yes.
They have 4 of them already installed, so they can kind of come in, knock out a little bit of ground, stick it down there, plug it into the electrical grid, and Bob's your uncle.
Now, no matter who you use, you're going to use a local contractor.
Exactly.
Because they're state licensed, they got all the permits, and they know how to do it. So you hire them, they go in, they deal with the permits, they get everything prepped and ready. The land is prepped, the power is there, and then the truck shows up, and there are time-lapse videos you can find on YouTube of these things going in a day.
Yep. I'll tell you that just recently in Athens, Georgia, we had a 150 there, and they put in a new 250. And the whole thing was done from a parking lot that had no indication that it was coming to the supercharger that was up and running, and I plugged it into my car, 10 days. That was everything. And I mean, the actual installation of the superchargers was like a day.
Yeah.
It was just like, chunk, they just stuck it in. It was crazy.
And they're mass produced in a factory that mass produces them. So it just works.
Yeah.
And as a result, they can be more reliable, cheaper to build, cheaper to implement, and the whole network just works.
Yes. Yeah, and the software it's really good.
Another reason I think it might only be 18.5% of the winning bids so far is this possible in some places they're not even bothering with it. We know we need the charger, we know it's going in, we've already planned it, and our cost is so low that look at Tesla's balance sheet and you tell me how much 77 million, if they got the whole thing, would matter.
No, it's nothing.
It's nothing. It's not even a penny a share.
Right.
Well, no, so it's about 10 cents a share.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
But still, but that would have to be if they captured everyone so far and captured it in a quarter.
And they have to go through all of the rigmarole to get, I mean, if you don't think it is a pain in the butt to deal with the government.
So the thing I would say to the haters and doubters is, if you don't like the idea of Tesla, this rich company getting this money, realize that at least they're using it right.
Yes.
At least they're getting good economy out of it. At least they're charging. If that money instead went to someone else, you would either get fewer chargers or no chargers at all in some case, or you just overpay dramatically by double at least.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Another complaint I see, I've got one particular user, you know who you are in the comments, who loves to harass and say, I live on the big island of Hawaii and there are no superchargers.
Wow.
But the big island of Hawaii, you can circumnavigate it on a charge.
Yes.
But you don't have any options for public charging with Tesla. You'd have to use somebody else.
Right.
And the real problem appears to be permitting. So that tells me that the problem isn't with Tesla.
Yeah.
The problem is with your local politics.
Right.
And that's something that only you can control with your vote.
Yes, that's true. I will say, on the other hand, though, we were in Honolulu in December. We were Ubering with people in their Teslas because that's the primary thing people were Ubering with.
Oh.
And actually we rented one for a couple of days and there's superchargers there. So it's pretty easy to charge up there. So whatever the Big Island is doing, I don't know. But certainly they could have one in Kona and in Hilo and I can't remember the name of the town. But anyway, they could have it.
But if you can't get a permit, you can't build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing that's interesting to note, do you know why there are so few chargers in high-rise, multi-floor parking structures?
No.
So the first reason is you can't get heavy equipment in there to build it.
Oh, yeah.
You can't bring in that modular charger because how you bring in a crane in when the clearance is 6'10"?
Right.
But also the real estate's more expensive. Getting power into there is a whole hassle.
Right.
So it's more effective to just go out a little bit. And once you're in the city, once the density's that high, they kind of figure you already have charging sorted out.
Well, and the other thing is, I will tell you that a lot of parking decks, like I've been in Lake Nona, Florida, and they have them all over, but they're destination chargers, but that works fine for a parking garage.
Yes.
Because generally, you go to work, you're going shopping, you're there for a
Yes.
couple hours, so it doesn't
Right.
matter if it's kind of slow.
What I want to see is more level 2s at
Yeah,
movie theaters.
exactly.
And level 1s at airports.
Yes.
I got a week.
ATL.
Yeah.
Because
I've got a week.
my car is actually charged because it's got a charge point. Works great. Just
Right.
plug it in, and it's when I get done, it's
Yeah.
charged up.
So, any other thoughts? So, how big of a deal is this for Tesla? Is this going to change anything for them?
The IRA specifically.
No, this part of it.
Oh,
Just
the
supercharging
charging
part of it.
I just did a video on that, so everybody can watch that video. Yeah,
What's the title of it?
The
so
title.
so we can
I
put it
have
up
to-
right now.
I can't remember. It's something. I think it's Tesla will become the world's
Biggest gas station.
Yes, the world's biggest gas station.
That's
It's
right.
titled
So-
Tesla Leads the Race to Draw Federal Money for Charging Networks. And of course, the important part of this article is right here. The electric vehicle maker is building charging stations cheaper and faster than competitors. As a result, Tesla is scooping up millions of dollars in federal grant awards for building roadside chargers with bids that are about half the cost of what its rivals have
Anyway,
offered.
but because I've just been thinking about that, the problem is I was trying to do a counterfactual who's going to catch them and pass them and become bigger, and I couldn't think of anybody. That was basically what led me to that conclusion.
So if I had to say who could do it,
Yes.
the answer to me is BP, because they are
Yes.
already pushing charging in
Yes.
Europe
Yes.
with street lamps and public chargers.
Right. And they have a lot of gas stations.
And they have a lot of gas stations. They have a lot of locations.
Exactly.
And they already are they are operating primarily in countries that have hard bans on gas cars coming up. The
Yes.
sale of gas cars.
Yes, yes.
But that spells the end of it. From there, you're just counting your pennies until
Right.
it stops. The
Right.
machine stops printing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so in the comments, I need to know, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? I misunderstand so many things, John. I just don't like to talk about it too much.
Right.
And if you haven't checked out Dr. Know-It-All, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I've already given you some free samples here, but
we go.
that's how dealers like us work. The first one is always free. So
If you want more, you got to pay. You got to pay the
you
house.
gotta
You got to
you
pay the
gotta-
house.
Yeah, because you're hooked. We know it. So everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Hey, maybe help me out on Patreon. That's how I'm able to come to things like Fully Charged in Vancouver, BC. And for the rest of you guys, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.
It's a nice little tripod, actually.
It does everything,
Yeah,
man. And then I put your phone
And it's a
in
selfie
this thing,
stick.
And it's this is my whole go bag.
Yep. No, that's why I've got my whole point is my go bags, my pockets.
Right.
So there you go.
That's how you got to do it. These guys going around with their big gear for the birds.
It's not necessary anymore.